This is a trig identity proof that's going to use the double angle formulae. So just before we start, we want to have a look at the right hand side to see where we're trying to get to. So we want to end up with sec of x, which is of course 1 over cos of x. So just keep that in mind. So there are several ways we can start here, but we're going to work from the left to the right as usual. So we start by just writing out neatly, well kind of neatly, the left hand side. Right, now you might think that's a waste of time, but it's an important part of setting up some logical reasoning for what you're doing. So we should always do that. And the next thing we're going to do is to turn it into one fraction instead of two and work with a common denominator. Now you don't have to do that, there are other ways to get there, but what I'm thinking is that I want to get rid of the signs in here. So I might want to find a common factor in the numerator and the denominator. And that's going to happen maybe a bit faster if I have sin x, cos x in the denominator early on. So let's look at the numerator now. Oops, don't know what happened there. So sine of 2x times cos x minus sine of x, just going to squeeze that in, cos of 2x. Right, now we look at that and now we're going to do some substitutions in. If I were doing this on paper or on the board, I'd try to keep my equal signs in a nice line, but because I'm going to run out of space, I'll move it over here. So here I've got the denominator that we're not going to touch. I'm going to make my substitutions into these two expressions using the double angle formulae. So sine of 2x is 2 sine x cos x times cos of x, so just leave it like that for now, minus sine of x. Now what am I going to do with the cos of 2x? Well, I've got a few choices. It's all going to come out in the wash anyway, so I'm just going to use this one, cos squared of x minus sine squared of x. Now looking at that, I can see that I've got sine of x here, a sine of x here, and a sine of x here. So I could take that out as a common factor. So I can divide everything through by sine of x, and I'm left with 2 cos squared x minus cos squared of x plus sine squared of x. Right, so just one more time, let's look at what I've done there. Well, I've got sine of x here, and it's in here, so it's in both parts of that fraction, and it's in the denominator. So I could have put an extra line in where I take the sine x out of everything as a common factor. Okay, but what I've done is I've just divided through by sine, so we might just write that down there, divided through by sine of x. Okay, so here in the denominator now I've got cos of x. Right, now that simplifies to give me 2 cos squared of x minus cos squared of x, which is just cos squared of x plus sine squared of x divided by cos of x. I'm going to use a new slide to finish this off. So cos squared of x plus sine squared of x is 1, and the denominator has got cos of x, so that equals sec of x as required.